What is happening, folks? This is Connor Martinez down at John Sporting Goods in Everett, Washington. We have another how-to video, and I am going to show you how to replace the brake pads and also how to place the brake spring in the Scotty Downriggers. They're going to be the same for your 1106s and your high performance, so you can kind of use this for either or. And I'm also going to run you through taking this thing apart and kind of the purpose for each part that's going into this. So stick around and watch me dismantle this Scotty Downrigger. And also, if you're not switching your brake pads every year, it's probably the cheapest but best thing you could be doing to these Downriggers. So it's highly recommended. You can obviously leave it here with us and we can do it, but I think it's a good idea for you guys to learn how to do this in case something happens on the water. You can take this Downrigger apart and then put it back together. So stick around, watch me switch the brake pads and the brake spring on these, and thanks for watching. All right, folks, we have our Scotty 1106 Downrigger. To change the brakes, it's going to be the same in the high performance one or just their base model. So this whole thing you can apply to your high performance Downrigger as well. So we're going to start with our lid, taking it off. The up position is how you unlock the lid. If we want to lock it, we would pull it down. Now it's going to stay on. So we're going to unlock the lid. Crank handle is the first thing that you're going to pull off. There's three purposes to this crank handle. One, you can see as we unlock and lock the lid, you have this little lever, and that's how you lock it to the Downrigger. It's actually sliding in this crank handle and holding your lid in place. So when you see these on the side of I-5, more than likely the guy lost his crank handle and the lid's just sitting here flopping on the top of the Downrigger, and then eventually the wind pulls it off. So you got to have the crank handle to be able to lock your lid in place. Next purpose to the crank handle is if we lose power to the Downrigger, we can slide it in the slot, and now we have a handle to crank our Downrigger up. So we're not sitting here burning our hands on the brake trying to pull it up on the side. We can slide it in. Now we have a nice handle to pull it up. The third purpose to the crank handle is to keep this plate in place. If you see, you lock it in appropriately, this counter plate is going to be still. Now, if we pull it off and we pull a line out, you can see this plate is going to spin around, so your counter's not going to work. So three purposes to the crank handle. It's a pretty vital piece, a vital tool for your Downrigger, so you got to have it. The next is the nut that holds the crank handle in place. There's not a locking nut. That one just goes flush with the bolt that's going through the spool. So we'll pull that off. We have a 9/16 socket, and that's why we're going to pull this locking nut off of the Downrigger. And this locking nut is basically the drag system of your Downrigger. The tighter or the looser this is, that's how you adjust your tension on the spool. So that's an important part. Next is our counter plate. You have a washer. We're just going to reuse that. We got our first, let's take our belt off next. We have our first plate. The smaller plate's always on the top of the spool. We're going to pull the spool off. And now we have our larger plate, which is on the bottom. And then we have what we're getting after, our brake pads and our brake spring. Little note, if these start getting little divots in the plates, we sell them, so it's a really good idea to change these out probably every couple years. And if you haven't replaced it, you can just clean these with like steel wool, which is usually what we do. You can just polish these up and they're good as new. Okay, you can see you're gonna replace your brake pads. There's 3 of them, so every Downrigger is the same. They're all gonna have 3. If you have less than that, then you're missing, obviously, brake pads. But we're gonna pull that out just so I can show you how to set this brake spring. This is kind of your tension. You can see if I put this down real quick and I put my handle in, this brake spring is what kicks your handle back forward. So you pull it back, boom, we're letting it down. Now we want to stop, we pull it, and it kicks that brake handle back forward. So it's a pretty important part of it. The best way I described it, if we're looking at this Downrigger as the boom being 12 o'clock, there's a piece that sticks down into the Downrigger. I always say that one's going to be at 12 o'clock. And then you have the piece that's going to go on the brake handle, which is sticking out at 9 o'clock. So the piece going down in the Downrigger is going at 12 o'clock. The piece that's going in the brake handle is at 9 o'clock. And you'll see as I put this back together, I've replaced the brake pads. It goes inside the brake handle. And then if we push it down, a kind of way to test it is just to push, and then you can pull and kind of see that the tension on this is perfect. So we got it right. Usually what I do is I add a little grease just to the shaft here, and that's basically so it kind of gets down on the brake spring. Plus, when it's riding through my spool here, it's going to be just a little bit smoother. So, going to go back with our brake, or with our spool. Make sure everything's clean here. I'm going to drop that down. Now you can see if I pull my handle back, boom, it kicks it forward. That's perfect. Next, we're going to go with our plate, our smaller plate on the top. You can see there's a little divot or a little recess in our counter plate here, and that has to sit on the inside of this brake plate. So if you push it down, you kind of have to wiggle it around to get it to set, and that is set perfectly. Next is our locking nut. This is our drag. This is how we set the tension on our brakes. There is a specific poundage that you can go after with these. Scotty has it. I think it's 40 pounds, but I could be wrong. Just think of it this way. If your downrigger ball gets stuck on the bottom, you want it to be able to pull line out so it doesn't rip off the side of your boat. But you also want it tight enough when you pull and let go, it's going to stop the ball, whatever pound you're using, 12 or 15. So it's kind of a happy medium. If it gets stuck, it should pull line out. When you let it down and then let the brake handle go, it should stop your downrigger pretty easily. Okay, got our counter plate on, got our tension for our drag set. We're going to put our belt back on. Okay, now we're going to put our nut on for our crank handle. Like I said, it's going to be flush with that bolt going through the spool. And then we are going to stick our crank handle back on. And it lines up. You can kind of move it how you need to, but it lines up here and snaps into place. And last but not least, we're going to put our lid back on. There you guys go. Super easy. I sell these brake pads. You can just buy them from me. If you don't want to wait for us to service your downrigger, we're currently about a week and a half or 2 weeks out. If you need them done quicker, I can sell you all these parts so you can change them out quickly and do it yourself. And it's actually a really good thing to learn, especially if you're out on the water and something goes wrong. You now know how to take this thing apart all the way down to the brake spring and put it back together. So if something's not working, you can kind of notice that. But that's the video. That's how you change your brake pads, and that's the same on a 1106 than a 2106. And thanks for watching.